Welcome back to another video. We are doing a TV show review today. We are talking about *Handmaid's Tale Season 2. We already reviewed *Handmaid's Tale Season 1, so you guys can check that out. We'll link it up in the cards there. But we were pretty hyped for this one, and we can just jump right into it. All our TV show reviews are spoiler-filled because we think that's the only way to talk about a full season of television, and a lot happens in this TV show in particular that I feel like you can't really talk about without spoiling. So, if you haven't seen it, go watch it, then come back to the video. If you're never going to watch it, then I guess you can come with us on this little journey.
So just to recap a small bit of our Season 1 thoughts, I do recommend going and watching our full video on it because we go much more in depth. But Season 1, very much enjoyed. I read the book a while back before watching Season 1, and I didn't really enjoy it because I felt like the book didn't expand on a lot of the ideas it introduced and a lot of the world it introduced, and the show just takes that and just runs with it, and it was great.
So in Season 2 of *Handmaid's Tale, we end up getting quite a few new things, actually, and some old things. But one of the things that changes is we end up seeing the story happen in quite a few more settings. So we're still following June, but then we also end up seeing more of Canada with Moira, who escaped, and with June's husband and what they're doing up there. And it's kind of interesting to see like life outside of Gilead. And then we also see Emily down in the colonies and her character, you know, because you hear about the colonies all in Season 1 of how terrible it is, and they make you like scoop radioactive waste, and we actually get to see that this season, which was pretty interesting.
And of course, a major plot point of Season 2 is June's pregnancy, which was revealed at the end of Season 1. You know, she goes and she sleeps with Nick to try to get pregnant because the theory is that her commander is sterile. And she does end up getting pregnant, so of course she's getting lots of special treatment for that, and sometimes not so special.
I thought the pregnancy was handled interesting throughout the show. I felt like that was probably the best arc, perhaps. I think June interacting with her pregnancy and the weirdness around that, because she didn't necessarily get to choose to get pregnant in this society, and how she decides to, I guess, claim parts of like her baby, and also how, since Serena has claimed this baby as her own, how they kind of interact around that baby as well is probably one of the more interesting parts of the season. Now, most of these episodes actually revolve around June's escape attempts, trying to escape Gilead. The first 3 to 4 episodes, she is on the run, escaping, and then, spoilers, she gets captured again and goes back to the house. And then she tries to escape again and gets captured, stays at the house. And then she ends up almost escaping one more time at the end, but then has her baby and goes back again before the ending of the season, in which she escapes again. So
I think this was my least favorite part of the season, and it was a very big part of the season, as all these escape attempts and them spreading out over multiple episodes and just like tugging on your hope strings a lot. And it was really exhausting emotionally by the end of it, and I think by the third time I was like, I don't believe anything.
I know she ain't getting out.
Yeah, so I think it was a little overplayed this season. I think they used that too much as an overarching theme. I think they could have scaled back just a smidge.
I think the first couple episodes of the season were my favorite of her initial escape attempt, because it was fresh and you got to have those experiences, her first taste of freedom again. That was all really cool stuff to see June experience and go through. But then it felt like the writers kind of played their hand, that they were too scared to leave the characters of Fred and Serena behind in the house, because I felt like the direction of the season pointed like she was never going to end up back there. And then the fact that halfway through they go, no, you're going to be back in the house doing the same old gig, trying to manipulate the two of them, trying to survive the two of them, and that weird triangle that they had going on. And it felt a little derivative at parts of the season because of that. And I would have preferred them go a fully new direction with the writing and the escape attempts, especially because it does start to, you stop believing it. So like her third escape attempt that didn't work out, I was like, we know something's going to go terribly wrong, and of course it did. So it's hard to continue to care for the character when you know the plot is going to slam her back down anyways.
So let's dive in a little bit more into the characters. Obviously, June is our main character, and I think you get to see a lot more of her struggles in this season. Season 1, obviously, you see a lot of it, but Season 2, with the escape attempts and with having a new child on the way, you see a lot more of her inner turmoil. You see it more than hear it, which is interesting because Season 1, you get a lot of her internal monologue, which is telling you, you know, how she feels a lot opposite to what's being shown on screen. But Season 2, they actually scaled back her internal monologue quite a bit, which I think in some areas was a strength, in some areas it might not necessarily have been, but you saw a lot more of her emotions play out on screen instead of just as a voiceover, which was very interesting.
Yeah, I really like parts of June's progression. I definitely think that she continues to like embody the theme of like the enduring human spirit and all that she goes through and continues to endure, and to get stronger because of it, I think is something cool to watch, and still something that, you know, is quite the experience. And I think Elizabeth Moss continues to surprise with the amount that she can convey with just a look or just a scene, because they keep giving her scenes where they're like, we're gonna just put the camera on your face for like a minute and you just gotta like emote with no dialogue. And she does a good job. We also see Season 2, I think, focus in a little bit more on Serena. We actually get some of her flashbacks and her character, especially with a baby on the way, how invested she is in having a child. And you learn that she actually can't have children because she was shot. Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty interesting to see her character progression. We kind of bounce back and forth between she's irredeemable and I hate her to be like, she's okay, but
I felt like for a while they were definitely going to move in a redemption arc for her direction, and I was like, nah, I don't buy it. Like, because as you see more of her backstory, you're like, nah, she's been a terrible person from day one, before day one. So I didn't foresee her having a redemption arc. She has a smidge of one at the very end, but I don't think it totally redeems her. It just is a moment of empathy, I think.
I felt like instead of getting a full redemption arc, she just got out of the way of June's arc.
Yeah.
Like the best her character could do is just to get out of June's way. And I felt like there could have been more for her.
Well, I did like the storyline of her going up against, you know, the Council of Gilead and trying to argue for allowing women to read, because, you know, June kind of infiltrated her brain with her ideas of, you know, okay, well, you want your daughter to grow up to be a godly woman. How can she do that if she can't actually read the scripture for herself? And Serena takes some pretty big steps with that, and I was actually very impressed with her character at that moment, and then it all came to shit, and she got punished really badly. Like, the way her and Fred's relationship deteriorates in Season 2 is very telling of Serena's disassociation with what has actually been happening, because you see clearly in Season 1 that she's kind of just indoctrinated into it. I mean, she helped set it up, and then Season 2... you know, you can see her internally questioning that a little bit, but I don't think she ever fully believes that what she did was wrong. I think she just thinks it went a little sideways.
Like we said earlier, we also get to see a lot more of Emily, played by Alexis Bledell's character, and she's in the colonies, and it's pretty interesting to see. She had a pretty good arc in the first one, because they surgically removed her clitoris and then sent her to the colonies. She ran over a guy. And in this one, she kind of continues down that path. This lady shows up. I think she was a wife.
You see her get a lot darker in this season, which I think was, you know, kicked off in Season 1. But while she's in the colonies, yeah, she straight up, like, kills a wife. And sabotages her because, you know, she's part of the corrupt system and was still preaching the corrupt system even after getting sent to the colonies, and it was just really brutal. And then she comes back from the colonies and she's just like done. Like, she's not playing into any of it. She is just over it. She's extremely depressed. Like, it was sad. And then we had it uptick a little bit towards the end.
And so Emily goes into this house with a new commander, and he actually is a little bit different. As soon as you get there, he has books everywhere, art, music, and his Martha is like sassing back at him, and it's a very interesting thing because he clearly does not care for the way that the other people do things. But you also don't really know where to put him.
This is played by Bradley Whitford, if you're familiar with that actor, and he plays evil guys quite often, and so I was like, are you gonna pull a Get Out? Or are you not? I don't know. And, he ends up having this really interesting arc with Emily. Emily ends up attempting to kill Aunt Lydia, which was interesting and dumb of her. And then he comes in and, it seems like he's gonna, turn her in or something, but he ends up actually taking her out of the city and rescuing her. So clearly, Whitford is kind of part of Mayday, it seems like.
Yeah, he's clearly part of this Underground Railroad to get people to escape, but I was pretty pumped to see Aunt Lydia
it was the best.
Get stabbed and pushed downstairs. The worst part of that is they did not show her die.
Oh, she didn't die.
So she's clearly going to come back alive. She's the one character I've wanted to die this entire time. She's so unlikable. Props to that actress, that lady, because I hate that character. But we see Emily end up, getting to escape via Whitford. I almost wish they spent more time in that house getting to know his character, because he only came in the second to last episode of the season, and it was a very interesting thing. I felt like they could have put her in that situation 3 episodes earlier and had her slowly figure out and get to have a moment of joy before she escaped, because she hasn't gotten any of that. But that didn't happen.
So that brings us to the very end of the season. The last episode was extremely emotional, a very big climax. You see June escaping, and you don't know where she's going, but all the Marthas have gotten together and made this little escape path to get out, and they complete with setting houses on fire to provide a distraction. And this is where we see Serena finally give up her control and give up the baby, because she knows that it's better for the baby to get out, because she's been seeing how women are treated, even if they come from a place of status. So it was really interesting to see that. And then, of course, June decides to not leave.
So, yeah, of course, June's standing there, and you see her, stop and pull out the picture of her daughter, and you're like, oh, no, she's not going to leave.
As soon as she tucked that into the little baby blanket, I was like, she's not going to.
So she ends up giving the baby, actually, to Emily, because Emily rolls up in the car. She's like, oh, you're here. Gives the baby to Emily, which is interesting, and tells her to call the baby Nicole, which is the name that Serena gave the baby.
I don't like this part. I don't think she should have changed the name. She picked out a name. It went really well with her other daughter's name. It's her daughter, and Serena's brief moment of human decency should not change that. I was upset about that choice, personally.
Yeah, I didn't know quite how to feel about it, but she did it, so... Oh well, I guess that's nice of her to do, but she actually gives the baby to Emily and is like, call her this, go there, go to Canada. So Emily ends up getting out, but she walks off into the distance being like, I'm going to get my daughter.
Overall, I think the quality of this season was still extremely high when it comes to, writing, cinematography. I do think some of the writing in this season was, like we said, a little repetitive sometimes and whatnot, but I'm willing to see where they go with it. But other than that, the cinematography is amazing, the music choices are great, the acting is phenomenal. It's just one of the best produced shows that I've seen in a while.
I would definitely agree. Like you said, I think the writing, it more than anything felt like they were a little scared in season 2 to really go outside of the realm of what they did in season 1. It felt like they came back to season 1 formula just a little bit, but I'm interested to see if they continue to move out of that, because especially based on the ending, it seems like it's going a much different direction. There's only so far back you can go at this point, especially with no baby in her belly.
So with that, let's talk about our expectations of season 3. With her going back, I'm really hoping that she doesn't just go back to the house to be a handmaid. I don't foresee that being possible without the baby, for that to even be a thing. There's no reason she would stay at that point. And I think Serena's going to have some major consequences come her way. It's just, I want a big switch up.
I will be annoyed if she goes back to that stupid house, because I think it will be a terrible, terrible writing decision. I mean, I could, for one, totally see them going back to that house and have Serena continue to, grow as a person and then, team up to take down. But I would much rather it go like the season 3 start and be like 3 months later and have her running like a resistance in Gilead trying to find her daughter. Like, that would be much more interesting to me, and have her be like, I'm a badass. I really want to see her no longer having to put herself into submissive roles, because she clearly is like been breaking out of those for 2 seasons, and now that she's reached this point, I just feel like it would be a dumb step back for a character to have to go even pretending to be submissive to these terrible men any further. I would much rather have her be free moving around in this system doing shit.
Like I said, I really just want a big switch up for season 3. I think if they go back to kind of the same setting, same song and dance, I'm gonna be a little bored and frustrated, because I think they have a lot of directions they can go in, and it feels like they're just kind of circling the same ideas while branching out occasionally, but still coming back to that safe little circle. So I'm hoping the circle does not exist in season 3, essentially.
But overall, I think we both really enjoyed season 2. If you enjoyed season 1, you will definitely enjoy season 2. Our biggest complaint is that it is more of the same, which is not always a bad thing, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing throughout the season. But as always, I think if you watch our channel, most reviews, we come, like, especially TV show reviews, we're like, I wish they did not play it quite so safe. And I think that's kind of how we feel. I wish they went a couple crazier directions, but it was a lot of fun to watch. I think the themes are still very strong, and it's cool to see June's character grow, and that is why we continue to watch the show, and we're definitely going to be tuning in for season 3, and I don't know, I really liked it still.
Let us know what you thought of this season down in the comments. That the whole reason we make videos is to talk to you guys about things that we all share enjoyment for. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up down below. It lets us know that you want to see more TV show reviews. We do take that into account when planning out our schedule. And if you like us and want to join the BS Review family, please subscribe. We've got a lot of fun things coming up in the next couple months that we are excited for. And we do have a lot of other types of videos besides just TV show reviews. So if you want to see some of those, you can click over there. And we'll see you guys in our next video. Bye!